the capsON podcast, coming to you from the capital, with your hosts, Nick Tobias, Tyler Blumenstick, and Michael Britton.
Welcome back to the capsON podcast. We've had a very long layoff since our last episode. Not a lot of sports going on, really not much to talk about. So we've taken a bit of a break, but with a lot of leagues kind of coming back and really getting back in the swing of things, coming up with plans to restart after the whole coronavirus pandemic. We're going to get back to normal pretty soon. I'm here with Anthony Mano and Nick Tobias. How you guys doing?
Oh, hanging in there, man. It's been tough being stuck inside the house for over 2 months, but we're getting some promise out of the sports world recently.
I'm not actually here. I'm just piped in like Bundesliga crowd noise.
I put out 2 picks I think it was Saturday morning. Not good at all.
Yeah,
I guess home field advantage doesn't really make much of a difference when there's no fans, and it's not that I didn't take that into account, but like because I did, I thought about it, but I don't know. I just figured
ESPN
like you're at home, like you still got to travel, but
yeah, I saw ESPN
different.
put out a picture of last year's Dortmund versus Bayern as opposed to this year's Dortmund versus Bayern. It was, obviously from a full stadium to nothing, and it's just boring. Yeah, but it's sports, and they're getting paid.
That's the Bundesliga's Yankees Red Sox, like on Sunday Night Baseball, basically. They play I think twice a year. I'm not too familiar with the Bundesliga, the format of it, but
all I can tell you, it's all about Bayern, baby. Robert Lewandowski.
It's live sports. They beat Dortmund today, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, they smacked Dortmund, I think.
Yeah. I was golfing, so I didn't place a bet on that, but I wanted to, and I wanted to release it for everybody, but sometimes life gets in the way, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
What are you going to do? So what are we hitting on today, Stick?
Anyway, yeah, just a little bit of a mishmash. We can bring you some NBA top 10 current players. We're going to give you a little discussion on that. We are going to dive into the NBA restart and kind of talk about championship contenders. And what was the last one? Major League Baseball, Michael Jordan comparisons.
Yeah. Does the MLB did they have? Yeah.
Yeah, like will they, have they ever had a guy like Michael Jordan come across the MLB? So, we can start with the NBA top 10. I feel like this is a really weird conversation there can be a lot of different stuff.
I was talking with Mano about this because I was watching First Take, and they've been putting out every single day. They've been putting out their top 20, I think, list, and starting from 20 going all the way up to 1. And I think the first 7 spots, 7-8 spots are pretty locked in. I'm more concerned about, debating the last couple because, obviously we're going to put Giannis up there. You're going to put LeBron and Kawhi and, KD, and Anthony Davis. The top 7, I think, are pretty straightforward. It's just that bottom, the 8, 9, 10 spots, I think, is where the debate happens. I think we can all agree. Let's see. There's Giannis, so that's one. I'm not going to name.
Let's walk through this. Number 1.
I don't know. I'm not really too concerned with ranking the top 7 like that. If you want me to tell you who I think the best player in the league is, and I do think it's Giannis. All his versatility and what he does is pretty insane.
Mm-hmm.
He's only going to be getting better. All he needs is a shot. He gets a jump shot and it's over. Giannis. Go ahead.
He's followed by LeBron. LeBron's number 2.
Easy.
I really only have like a top 5 or 6 to be honest. Like LeBron, Giannis, Kawhi, AD, Harden, and maybe Russell Westbrook in the solid top 5.
Dude, Russell Westbrook I think is a conversation to have, not top 5. The top 10 conversation is there. I don't think he's in the top 5 conversation. I wouldn't put him above Steph. I wouldn't put him above KD. We're going to talk about healthy KD. I'm not talking about injured KD, obviously.
So in what sense? Are we going to talk about career, like overall talent? Are we going to talk more, success with teams? Like which direction do you guys want to go with this?
I would like if we should. I think we should do overall player. Healthy. Obviously up until this point, like with KD, I would just obviously nullify the Achilles injury that's going to make him play at 75 instead of 100%.
So talent.
Well, it's
Yeah.
your own ranking. If you want to build in team success and something along those lines, then yeah, go for it. It's
Okay.
it's your top 10, but I think top 3 we have it pretty squared away with Giannis, or top 2 at least, Giannis and LeBron.
Yeah, I would agree.
Let's see. I'm gonna let's look at the East. So the East, coming out of the East, you have Giannis from Milwaukee. Toronto doesn't really have a pivotal player. I don't think I'd put Spicy P in the top 10. Nobody on the Celtics is a top 10 player. Miami, I don't think Jimmy Butler's a top 10 player. Nobody on the Indiana Pacers is a top 10 player.
But you can make the argument for Jimmy Butler if you want to go by team success. Like, his teams win everywhere he's been. Miami, he won. Philly, they won. And whether he's the asshole like behind their winning or not is a whole different debate. But you can't argue his success. It's the same with Chris Paul. Like, Chris Paul might not ever get a ring, but he's had generational success everywhere he's been.
See, that's what I was thinking about when I was logging into the call. I was like, which direction do I want to go with this? Do I want to go with and you kind of put some hot takes in there? Because I feel like if you put Chris Paul in there, it's definitely more of a hot take than anything. But
you can make the argument for Chris Paul because he took when they traded for Chris Paul, and they pretty much,
Who are you talking about there? Are you talking about
OKC?
Thunder? Okay.
Yeah, when the Thunder acquired Chris Paul and basically ripped their team to shreds and acquired assets, nobody thought that they were going to be in the playoff picture. Nobody thought that Chris Paul was even going to put on a Thunder uniform until he did, and then they started winning and continued to win. So he has an argument in this top 10, like this season in the NBA. Like, it's close, but I don't think I'd put him in there. It's the same conversation you'd have with Jimmy Butler.
So if we want to, okay,
I agree.
and then that's another. We're talking about Jimmy Butler and his his presence in the locker room on the team. He isn't necessarily that that lights out player who you're going to give the ball to and you're going to run the team. You're not going to run the offense through Jimmy Butler, even though he's capable of putting up the offensive numbers. He's a defensive player, but he's more so that locker room guy who holds everybody together, pushes them harder in the weight room and stuff like that. And that's when I want to come talk about the Sixers. And I don't think Ben Simmons is a top 10 player.
But Joel Embiid is.
Joel Embiid is definitely in conversation for it. Now, the only would I put Joel Embiid in the top 10? I probably wouldn't. I would put Nikola Jokic.
I kind of agree with you there.
I would put Jokic in it before I put Embiid, strictly because of Embiid's injury concern. The concern that he doesn't put 100% into the games when he plays. He seems very lackadaisical. And again, the injuries and him not playing, 60-70% of the season is nothing. Jokic is playing all these games. He's dishing, he's rebounding, he's making the threes. I've seen him do. There was that one fadeaway in the corner, turnaround fadeaway J in the corner that he had last year that was just unreal. And he's lost weight. He's trying to get more athletic, but I think I'd probably put Jokic in before I put Joel Embiid.
Right. So just out of the East, guys, even in consideration for top 10, right? We have Giannis, Embiid, KD, Kyrie, Oladipo. Only pretty much coming out of with any sort of consideration to a top 10, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
Somewhat close to it. And then out of the West, starting with the Lakers, since they're, at the top right now, you have LeBron and you have AD, right?
Harden.
And then going down to the Clippers, you got Kawhi, and you have Paul George. Whether or not you want to put him in there is fine. But just like ranking, or just getting players in a pool here first. You got the Nuggets. You said Jokic. I would put him in that elite class as well. And then the Thunder, which we said Chris Paul.
He definitely deserves that consideration. He's a baller, man. He's a baller.
Mm-hmm. The Rockets have Harden and Westbrook.
The Mavs have Luka.
Westbrook, yep. Luka's up there. Just to get a pool going, we could put Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert in there as well.
I would put Donovan Mitchell up there.
I don't know if he's top 10, but I would put him. But he's close.
He's one of those fringe guys.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
sure. Just to get a pool going, yeah, I'll get him in there, and I'll get Rudy Gobert because he's probably the best defensive center in the league.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Grizzlies. Like, I don't think John Morant is
Not
there
yet.
yet.
Not yet.
No,
No,
but what I like, but I really, I love talking about Dame Lillard, and I think he definitely belongs in the top 10.
I will put Dame in this pool as well, and then the Pelicans. We can say it's too early for Zion as well.
Definitely
Obviously,
too early for Zion.
Kings nothing, nobody. The Spurs nobody. The Suns Devin Booker probably is a top 10 player in the NBA.
I wouldn't put Devin Booker in the top 10.
If you're a top 10 player in the NBA, no matter what you're doing, your team is winning. And the Phoenix Suns have never won.
I can't.
Minnesota doesn't have anybody, and the Warriors are hurt. But you can put Klay Thompson.
Would you consider Karl Anthony Towns?
No.
Probably not right now at this point.
Okay.
What has Karl Anthony Towns done by himself?
I want to see more. He's
I wanna see
talented.
more
In a pure talent perspective,
talented.
yeah.
Well, now that he's
maybe.
got D'Lo, I mean that team.
Overall player, I don't know.
I think that team just needs to learn.
But I'm not putting him in the top 10 because he has D'Lo on his team. That's the problem.
And then obviously Golden State, you talk about Steph, and you put Klay in there too. Would you put Klay in there?
16,
Yeah, but I think
19. Okay, so we have 19 dudes in a
top 10
in a top 10 list. So let's start knocking. Or we have 18 in a top 10 list. So we could probably knock off Klay Thompson, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Can we knock off Rudy Gobert for now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I would knock off Donovan Mitchell.
We can knock off Donovan Mitchell. Okay. Luka's going to stay. Westbrook's going to stay. Harden's going to stay. Chris Paul, Jokic, Paul George.
Knock him out.
I'm going to keep him for now. Kawhi, AD, LeBron. Oladipo's going to go.
Yeah, knock him out.
And I'm going to knock off Kyrie as well.
Yeah, Kyrie isn't a top 10
I don't know
player.
about that.
I know about that.
I think Kyrie is one of the most talented players in the NBA, but I don't think he's in a top 10 in the NBA discussion.
I think we have to keep him on this list for argument's sake.
That's fine.
Oh God.
That's fine.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up.
He deserves to be on there.
So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 guys.
Okay. So we got to trim 4 more.
So now you got to trim 4 more.
And it's tough because you can't really trim anything from the East. The East, is you got the standout. Did you obviously put KD and everything in there?
Yep, KD is on there. That's why I'm saying I even cutting down 4 more. I'm gonna cut off.
I guess Kyrie can go.
Kyrie, that's what I was. Yeah, Paul George is going to.
I would have to cut off.
See,
CP3.
I wouldn't be so. I would not. Yeah, CP3 I think's got to go, but I would not be so quick to shut off Paul George from this conversation.
I would. He's not. I don't think he's a game changer. He's a great number 2 guy. He was a great number 2 guy in OKC. He's going to be a great number 2 guy in LA, but he isn't a top 10 player to me.
Yeah, I don't think he's top 10 player.
He's a top 15 player. I mean, he could shoot. He could play D.
Yeah. If you were to start a franchise right now with Paul George as your number 1 pick, however the draft board goes, whatever. If he's your number 1 pick, you're going to be a playoff team every single year. I don't think you're ever going to win anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it comes down to. I'm going to keep Chris Paul on here. And I'm going to keep Dame on here as well for now. So now we got 3 out of the East, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we got to cut off 2. And this is where it gets tough.
So if I'm cutting off 2 here, I'm cutting off Embiid and I'm cutting off Luka. Luka is going to be a top 10 player. Not this year, next year. Next year he's going to have a year of Kristaps under his belt. I think that Mavericks team's going to be pretty good next year. I don't think he doesn't have the experience yet to be a top 10 player. We haven't seen him really perform at crunch time when it really matters, playoffs, anything like that. A pivotal divisional game where he has to win, we have like that. So I can't put Luka in there strictly for his inexperience. He has the skill set. It's just the inexperience. I can't, put him in there. But I know when you were talking about Paul George, would you start, a franchise with Luka? I mean, why wouldn't you?
I would rather start a franchise with Luka than Paul George.
You're absolutely right. But I'd rather start a franchise with Dame than Luka right now.
I don't agree with that. Nope.
Oh man, dude,
not going to get me there.
I love Dame Lillard. His offensive arsenal and
I would almost
shooting
have.
his.
I think personally, I would rather have Chris Paul than Damian Lillard.
Oh, I love Dame.
Ooh,
It's always
that's a hot take.
that is a hot take.
Is that a hot take?
I think that's a pretty hot take.
I don't think it is.
If you're talking overall careers, then yes. But
Okay,
if we're
yeah,
talking
sure.
a guy you want on your team today, Dame Lillard is that guy.
Dame Lillard, you mean the leading scorer on a 29 and 37 team?
Listen,
Dame Lillard, the basketball player.
Dame Lillard,
Yeah.
the basketball player. And, I don't think that Trailblazers team and the front office has done a good job to surround him with the players he needs. I think they got very unlucky. Obviously Nurkic destroying his leg is an unfortunate event. Hassan Whiteside is just, I get taking a flyer on Hassan Whiteside. His contract is fat, the Heat wanted to unload the contract. I get that. But what else have the Blazers done to help Damian Lillard out besides CJ McCollum? Nothing.
And
I mean, Rodney Hood, Gary Trent Jr., Anthony Simmons. That's the thing is you can't do much when nobody helps you. I mean,
If
you
you
look at
swap-
Kawhi going to the Clippers. You have Trez, you have Pat Bev, you have Lou Will, you have Paul George. I mean, you have Landry Shamet as whatever Landry Shamet is. You have whatever his face, Evok Zubats. I mean, he has a good team around him. Dame doesn't, and the fact that Dame Lillard takes him to the playoffs pretty much every year, even as a 7, 8 seed, is pretty surprising. There's two very undersized guards there, pretty much running the show. CJ McCollum is very underrated. Coming out of Lehigh and stuff like that. He's always had that prove it mentality. But Damian Lillard runs the show, and I think he does a damn good job. I mean, I want that guy on my team. I want him to be my point guard. I love him, man. I really do. He was averaging 29 points a game this year. He does everything. 4 rebounds, 8 assists. Sure. 1 steal a game. Sure, I'll take that. I mean, he's serviceable. He's a great leader. He doesn't want to leave that Blazers team. He's given Portland his heart. I love the guy. What was it last year when they were playing OKC and he hit that disgusting step back 3 over Paul George? That was ridiculous. Unlimited range. It's always Dame time.
The thing with Dame Lillard for me is, and I'm going to go back to Mano's point because, yes, they were, 29, 37, like you said. That was this year. You take them years past, I don't know, I think McCollum's drop off says a lot more about that 29 and 37 record than it says about Dame Lillard.
What do you mean it says more about McCollum? The McCollum not being a viable number 2?
I says because McCollum was a much better player and a viable number 2 in 18, 29, 18, 17, and years before that. I mean, they were at the top of the conference for the past, I don't even know how many years before last year, or this year at least, I guess you could say, depending on which way you're looking at it. But yeah, I think, and the West also got a lot better, to be fair. They got a lot of young guys. Luka
That's
came up.
another thing.
John Morant came
You
up.
can't say enough about the Western Conference and how tough it is. You put that Trailblazers team in the East. What are you going to do? They're beating out the Pacers, I think, every year. I mean, they're going to smack. They're going to. I think they would run train on pretty much the bottom half of the Eastern Conference. But
I think a good comparison here would be comparing the Blazers to the Suns in Dame Lillard and Devin Booker. Because, Devin Booker's a lot less polished than Dame Lillard is. But the teams are kind of, the Blazers are definitely better. Don't get me wrong there. But I just think that comparison is probably the closest you're going to get to something in the West. I don't really know how to word this, but the Suns don't really have a number 2. But then again, McCollum wasn't that great last year. And the Blazers were still able to do much better than the Suns were.
They were a 3 seed last year. A 3 seed.
Correct.
And now they're a 9 seed?
Look, I don't know.
Dude, the West has gotten better. AD and LeBron have come over. Okay, the Clippers got Kawhi and Paul George.
Projecting them because the Lakers were out of it last year or 2 years ago.
Okay, the Nuggets got progressively much better. OKC's been, they've always been up there, and I'm surprised. They're a 5 seed this year. Losing Russ and Paul George. I got to give him credit for that. I mean, I got to give CP3 and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander credit over there. The Rockets obviously getting better, getting Russ, Luka coming in there, and even Ja Morant coming in the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies have put together such a good team. It's pretty much built for Ja Morant. They got shooters, they got big men. The West is just a superior conference, and I think the West got a lot better coming into this year than the East did, and that's why they took such a big hit.
Yeah, but Chris Paul's taken the worst team to 40 wins.
But going off of that, not even looking at the top teams in the West, you look at the teams in the bottom half of the West, that conference has become a lot more balanced. I mean, you look at the Pelicans, they're a contender now. I mean, with time and more experience working together, I mean, and giving Zion a full season, that team is a playoff team. You look at the Kings, they're young. They have with Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, like those guys are young players that can.
The Kings
Aaron Fox, they can
I think
get them.
the
They can
Kings
get
are
it
the
done.
youngest.
That's the thing.
I think they have like the average youngest, player on their team, and I think they play at the fastest pace too. I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I have a strong feeling that's how it is. The Kings just aren't able to put it together. The front office has never been able to put it together. They're not a high volume, hot spot where free agents want to go and play. I mean, they had Vince Carter for a year. They got Harrison Barnes, but that's really all you can name for that team.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm just saying those are teams that can steal games against teams like the Blazers.
So
and
who would you put in over
6,
Dame?
7, 8, 9.
I'd put Chris Paul in over Dame, but that still leaves that still puts us at 11.
Okay.
So whether or not you want to keep Dame or you got to keep or you want to keep Chris Paul, you still got to cut one more.
I'm putting Dame in there, and I'm cutting off Joel. I'm all aboard the Nikola Jokic train. I can't stand. Maybe I have a little bit of bias because he's a Sixer and I'm a Celtics fan, and I do hate Joel Embiid, but the guy's a baller. I mean, 7-footer. He didn't pick up a basketball until high school, the back end of high school. Obviously he's injury plagued, and that's pretty much been his story the whole year. And I just don't have trust in him to last. You can't play. I could play Jokic 42 minutes a game. Okay, maybe not, but I feel more confident in having Jokic play a whole game than I do having Embiid. I'm gonna have to take Embiid out for a prolonged amount of time so he could be ready to play the last 2 minutes. Jokic, I can have him pretty much play the whole fourth quarter and I'll be fine. He's still gonna ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if I'm gonna get the full 100% out of Joel Embiid. Clearly he has this thing to him where he doesn't seem like he wants to be out there all the time. Sometimes you see the lackadaisical effort down the court. He hasn't really made an effort to get more in shape, more ready to play basketball, and I don't know. I would rather take Jokic.
I think they have two different skill sets. I think it depends on the type of style you want to play. I think they're both in my top 10 just because that's the two types of centers that you're going to get in the NBA. You're going to get the defensive stud with offensive talent like Embiid, or you're going to get the offensive, the non-traditional center, the one that's, making passes and still able to do everything else like Jokic. But so we have a pretty solid top 12, and it really comes down to who you want to put in your 10 spot.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, so you want to just call it the top 12 and pivot to...
Yeah, we could call it a top 12.
Yeah, because
call it a top 12
I could go back and forth and just say the same shit over and over again. It's just not worth it at this point.
All right, so let's go on and pivot to... I mean, we've kind of touched on it throughout this conversation already, but let's pivot. Should the NBA resume? Does anybody know off the top of their head? I don't follow the NBA as closely as you guys do. The plan to... where do we stand now with the plan to get back... I know Disney's in the conversation to host it as like a neutral site.
It's going to be Disney.
What is the structure? Do we have a structure yet, or a rough structure or something like that?
That's what there's new information coming out every day, and I think what it comes down to is all these different people are in meetings, getting different vibes of ideas, and then just leaking it to insiders. There's been talk of traditional 16-team playoffs, 8 in the West, 8 in the East, and doing it how it's normally done. Or there's talk today. The big rumor is that they're going to do like a World Cup style where it's like group play. So that's kind of been thrown around today. But I don't think there's a set idea. But there will be playoffs, and it will be not single elimination.
No, I've been hearing it's pretty much a top 7 top 7 from each division or top 6 from each division are pretty much a lock, and then
Mhm.
it's pretty much 7 through whatever it is, 16, 17, or 15,
Yeah,
whatever it
might get a
is.
play-in game as well. I've heard
It,
that. Yeah.
it's just a
Okay,
tournament
so
to
that's the
figure out the
question I
last two
have.
seeds.
So no one knows yet. I think they're having these discussions and people are getting different vibes from the conversation and leaking it one way or another. If
Hmm.
that makes
Okay,
sense.
so current standings are going to stand,
Yes.
and that's going
Yes.
to impact seeding. Okay,
Well,
Right.
I don't know.
so
There might have been. Has there been talks about maybe playing a couple regular season games? But
I don't know.
yeah, I don't remember. Like you said,
because all
there's
right,
new
let's
stuff that
see.
comes out every day.
I was
Let's
gonna
see.
look and see. They don't give you a games played stat like they do in the MLB here in the NBA, but I'm just curious if teams like off the top of my head, the Bucks 53 and 12, so they've played 65 games. But then you look at say the Knicks, they're 21 and 45. They've played 40 or 66 games.
Hmm.
Same thing with the Pistons, 66. The Hawks have played 67 games. And then I mean it's not so much a problem in the East, but in the West there are teams that are. I mean,
I
the
mean, even for
Blazers
the
are three
East,
games out.
the 7-8 race in the East. I mean, Brooklyn and Orlando are pretty. I mean, what I think Brooklyn's got it by a half a game.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
but they're
but you look
Brooklyn's
9
30 and
through
34, and yeah,
12
well, I mean, it's all
in
garbage.
the
I mean,
West. If you look 9 through 12 in the West.
The West is where it gets real
Sorry, Nick,
interesting.
you keep cutting out. I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but you keep cutting it out, so I keep
All
thinking
right,
you're
that's fine.
not
Just
talking.
keep going. Well, you just keep going.
No, you're good. No, you're fine.
I mean, I was just saying the bottom end of the East is trash, so I don't really care too much about their playing games. And the only people it might screw over, obviously, is the Nets. I mean, that'd be the biggest. They'd probably be one of the biggest losers if there's a play in. Um, but the West is going to be nuts. I mean, between Dallas, Memphis, Portland, the Pelicans, Sacramento. I mean, even Phoenix could make a run. I mean, the Spurs are still polished. They're still run by one of the best coaches ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to end up doing the play-in games to kind of let the teams that are like 2-3 games out, kind of have that last chance, and earn their way in, even if it's for that 7 and 8 seed or something along those lines.
Okay, so
It's definitely going to be
let's just
interesting.
talk. Let's talk about favorites. I mean, forget about this because we can talk about formatting all we
Hmm.
want. We're not going to know what the format is, but
Hmm.
who do you like to win it all?
Well, I
There's
think
obviously there's clear beneficiaries and and people who are losing, and that's obviously the 7 and 8 seeds if they're playing in. But
right.
I mean,
But
obviously,
they're not going to have the odds to win it anyways.
mhm,
Like even if this continued to go or however it goes, like the odds are the 7 and 8 seeds aren't going to win this. That's just the way the NBA playoffs are formatted.
mhm.
They want the best team to win the championship, and it's like that.
I think
I
this. I don't know. I think if the playoffs are very abnormal, if obviously if there's these playing games, and if you're playing every day, there's no travel involved. I think these younger teams have a chance to just get hot and make a run.
Mhm.
Like obviously,
I think the Heat are extremely sneaky in an odd format. I know the Heat are still top 4 in the East. I mean, they're a great team, but given some wonky situation, I think they have the potential to really make a run here and threaten. I don't. It's going to take a lot. It's the series going to come down to. I mean,
Mhm.
whatever the series ends up being, best of 3, best of 5, best of 7. It's going to take a lot to beat a team like the Bucks or the Raptors or even the Celtics for that matter. But
I listen. I'm biased about the
they're dangerous.
Celtics, but I think the Celtics are one of the biggest beneficiaries. I mean, if we're talking about back to back games, maybe you're playing 6 games a week, 5 games a week. I mean, because there's no traveling now, you just play back to back days. I mean, these younger teams clearly have the energy and the stamina advantage, as opposed to
Mhm.
older LeBron and bigger, lunkier guys like Giannis. If Giannis is playing 40 minutes a game, I mean, he's going to be just dead by the sixth game. If the series stretches that long. But Boston's core three with Tatum and JB and Kemba. I mean, those are a bunch of young guys, and I think these young teams have a real chance to make a run. And I do think, like you said, Stick. I do think Miami is a good sneaky pick here too.
Does it matter that Miami has a losing record on the road? Is this technically on the road if it's a neutral site?
I would say no.
You
I
know,
mean
I don't know.
that's
They can't win away from home. They're not at home. No, nothing
Yeah.
there.
It
Those
will be in
guys?
Florida, to be fair.
That's true. Okay. No, I think the conversation really comes down to the the two LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers, or the
Mhm.
Bucks. Like if you're going to pick like a champion based on these compromised circumstances, your best bet is going with the best teams. Um, and the Lakers, the Lakers have the best record in the West by 5.5 games before this all started. And they have LeBron James, and they have AD, and they have a decent supporting cast around them. And the Clippers have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. A Kawhi Leonard who's used to sitting for extended amount of times, but just not
Yeah.
extended as in like a quarantine extended amount of time.
I mean, I think the Clippers are one of the clear beneficiaries, like you said, with the injury history of Kawhi, whether it be minor
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
and
Well,
Paul
he would
George
sit out.
really with the shoulder
Right.
issues. Like, I mean, come on.
Like he's not going to sit out in the playoffs, obviously, like load manage in the playoffs, but like he's been load managing this entire quarantine, I would assume. And then in the East, you have the Bucks who have,
Yeah, the
pretty
Bucks.
much steamrolled everybody for 2 years in a row.
Giannis steamrolls everybody.
Yeah, Giannis steamrolls everybody. That's fine. But I think if you're looking for a long shot, like I know the 76ers haven't been able to put anything together this year, like on a consistent basis, but if
This year,
this year, I think, well, yeah, fine. But I think if you want to take a long shot bet, they have a good a chance as anybody.
that's what this playoff format is going to give all the underdogs a shot. More of a shot so than before. I mean, obviously, if it's Milwaukee against Orlando, I think that doesn't really mean much. But when it comes to being, if like you said, if it's Milwaukee against Boston, Milwaukee against Philly, Milwaukee against Miami, like anything like that, the underdog has a chance here. And even in the West, I mean, with Jokic and the Nuggets and Houston, James Harden and Luka with the Mavericks. I mean, maybe he's going to put it all together with him and Porzingis. This is his time to shine. Who knows, man? Like, I think it's going to be fireworks. The first 2-3 rounds. Obviously until we get to the conference semi or the divisional semis, or I'm sorry, the conference semis or the conference finals. It's just going to be back and forth. I mean, I'm real excited for it. I can't wait to see basketball again. I really can't wait to see basketball.
When a champion is crowned, are you going to give it an asterisk?
No. I'm gonna say no.
I mean, I wouldn't, because it's basketball to me. No matter what, I don't really change the way I view there's going to be a champion, and it's a champion nonetheless. I think the players might view it a little differently. Obviously some teams are getting hot, and these past 2 months when they've been sitting out, this is when teams usually start gaining
My
steam.
thing is, these guys are all under the same set of circumstances. They all are doing nothing. Like it's very well regulated in the sense where, like,
quote unquote doing nothing, but
doing nothing, right? Like obviously some have advantages, like if the players on the Nets and Knicks, right, if they live in New York, they can't go to the facility and get shots up. But if you're Donovan Mitchell living in Utah, I would assume that your house in Utah has enough space for a little basketball court.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or LeBron James inside your house, for that matter.
Or yeah, sure, or something along those lines. But there's different circumstances.
A whole basketball court.
There's different circumstances for these players. But I would assume that if you want to get out and shoot, and you're an NBA player and you want to do some sort of training, you would have been able to if you wanted to. Easy. That's just my guess. I don't know.
So
that's just my guess.
Are you going to put an asterisk?
No, I'm not going to put an asterisk because they're all under the same set of circumstances. If I was a LeBron James hater and thought that Michael Jordan is the best thing since sliced bread, then yeah, I'd probably give it an asterisk. But I'm not. So no. But I mean, if it was a lockout shortened season, no one would give it an asterisk. It was just they won the championship in the lockout shortened season. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? Like they're all still doing it.
No, it's true.
It's gonna be fun.
Look, it's not a Houston Astros.
It's gonna
tell
be
you
like,
that.
Oh god.
No, well, no one's cheating, presumably.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's the argument here. Is like you said, they're all under the same circumstances, but There's nothing wrong with it. It's just
No.
the circumstances. It is what it is.
Yeah, I just
With that
think
being said, I'm going to rule out the Los Angeles Lakers.
You're
I
rolling
don't
out
think-
the Lakers.
you're gonna rule out the
Look,
Lakers
look at
right
the
now.
ages. Look.
I
You
agree.
got
I think youth wins.
LeBron,
this
you got LeBron, you
championship.
got Davis, you have JaVale, you have Danny Green, you have. I mean, Kuzma's young.
Kuz
I
is
mean,
garbage.
Avery Bradley, what is he? 30, 32,
Yeah,
31?
he's not what he used to be when he was on the Celtics.
Dwight Howard, Markieff Morris, Rajon Rondo, Deion Waiters is on that team. Like that team is probably the oldest team in the league. Like,
see, and that's what I'm
they're gonna
talking
get
about.
gassed.
Where I think that's what exactly they're going to get gassed. I mean, these older teams are going to get gassed, and especially these teams that play really fast-paced basketball, and they're going to burn themselves out in the first 2 games, and then it's going to fall apart. Because who knows how big the break's going to be in between rounds? You know, like we're saying, it's going to be games every day. Like if say Disney, they play in Disney, and Disney has 5 separate courts. I mean, they're playing basketball all day.
I had a theory, or an idea rather, that each home team, that each NBA team should have a different home around the Disney parks.
Oh God, like
as opposed to all playing in the world. You know, you can get one team in the worldwide of sports. Maybe the Lakers play in the worldwide of sports, but the Nets can play, in the fucking in the freaking in the Tree of Life in the animal kingdom.
Someone's got to play in Epcot.
And then the Knicks can play in the Epcot Dome.
Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, all that stuff.
Yeah, it just in different spots. Like, the Kings can play underneath Cinderella's castle. I think it's very. I don't think it's possible.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, it'd be pretty cool. I mean, even
it's
if
a good idea, but they don't have the space for that.
No, probably not.
No,
the Rockets can play on Space Mountain.
There you go.
That'd be pretty crazy. Or on top of Magic Kingdom, on top of right next to the. They're playing outside, right next to the castle. Bam. That'd be pretty dope. Yeah. That'd be pretty dope.
Whoever's the smallest team by height can play in the It's a Small World attraction.
Oh man!
I think that would add some added interest to it.
That would add some flavor, I think. Absolutely. And then, like you said, it gives some sort of home court advantage, maybe.
Does it though? If they know the ins and outs of the air conditioner that's going through It's a Small World, and they can,
it was always freezing cold in that thing.
Dude, listen, it's because it's like 100 degrees outside with like 200% humidity, and you just want to. Oh man, that's the best when you're going on a ride, and that's like your 5-minute break from the sun.
All right, last topic. I kind of wanted to
team first. Let's get one gun to your head. Who you picking?
Oh, I'm taking the Lakers.
I'm taking the Celtics, baby. Oh, I'm taking the Celtics.
I'm gonna go hot take Heat here, and I'm going to post that clip when I'm correct.
Okay.
All right, Mano, pivot us. Let's see.
Hot take.
So with the ending of The Last Dance, the 10-part documentary on Michael Jordan that aired on ESPN, it started a little bit of like a Twitter sphere debate about like, do other sports have Michael Jordans or like an equivalent to Michael Jordan? And you can make an argument to almost every sport has their own Michael Jordan, where the player dominated on the court to the point where he was the best in the sport and had the championship accomplishments to back it up. And then I started thinking about baseball, and I don't think, I wanted to get your guys' opinions on whether or not you think there's anyone close in Major League Baseball that is close to Michael Jordan or has been, or I guess you can't see will be, but has Major League Baseball had anything near a Michael Jordan?
I don't think.
All right, I'll start us here.
Go ahead,
Nick.
I mean, I'm just gonna keep it quick because I haven't really thought about it or dove into it too much. I don't think anybody has the work ethic, the skills, and the championships to back up what Michael.
So all right, so let's break this down into categories. I guess we can break it down into how he was portrayed in the documentary. There was off court recognition, right, where he left hotels and everybody wanted to see him, to the point where he had to stay in his hotel and hang out with the curly haired mullet guy.
That guy was the boy. He hit him with
That
the
was a
shrug.
boy.
Hit him with the
Exactly.
shrug with the coin toss.
Twice to make sure the camera saw it too. So, all right, off court recognition, on field dominance,
Work ethic
sure, work ethic,
and championships and winning.
and championships. So in terms of, all right, I like those four.
Okay, so
And there's a few names that I came up with that I'm gonna
I have
bounce off.
two in my head right now.
Go ahead, Stick, because I'm sure they overlap.
Probably. All right, so the two that pop into my head initially, first one, Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second, Barry Bonds.
Boom. That's what I like. So Barry Bonds was in. All right, we'll start with Ken Griffey. So Ken Griffey Jr. Obviously, everyone who follows baseball knows Ken Griffey Jr. because he has one of the sweetest swings, right?
Yeah,
He's known for like the
most
backwards
iconic swing.
hat, being the cool baseball player where baseball was kind of like
Black.
nose to the sky, like very stuck up, right? And baseball is still stuck up to that point, but yeah. So everybody recognizes Ken Griffey, so we can get that. Was Ken Griffey ever the best at the sport, though?
No.
Probably not at any given time.
No.
But he's close. But he's up there.
Listen, well, he was almost a unanimous Hall of Famer ballot. What was he at, 99.6 or something like that?
Yeah, I think he was 2 votes short. So okay.
Because
But that doesn't right.
13-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove winner, 7-time Silver Slugger, All-Star Game MVP, and what is this? TSN Major League Player of the Year, which I don't think they do anymore. Yeah, I don't know, but that's in 21 seasons. Like, he's got the longevity, but I don't know.
But I don't think
that's why this is an interesting conversation. I feel like the true answer here is no. But if we're trying to get somebody super close, I feel like he's got to be up there.
He's also 56, ranked WAR all time with 83. If you want that to be your end all be all stat, then so be it. But he's definitely in the conversation. But there are players that were better than him, as evidenced by more WAR. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think basketball has a comparable catch-all stat like that to cover. But I think Barry Bonds is my answer.
It's probably the closest, and Alex Rodriguez could be in there also.
A-Rod can yeah. All right, I'll give you A-Rod.
Oh, jeez.
Other than that, Albert Pujols, maybe Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken is an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, Cal Ripken's the Iron Man. I mean, that guy is just he played like crazy. I think when it's tough because it depends what generation you're talking to. We look back and those are the old timers, obviously Ken Griffey, Barry Bonds, and then you can go back even further: Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Hank Aaron. I mean, even if you really want to reach, Lou Gehrig, stuff like that. Cy Young. I mean, it's
you can't even compare. I don't think you can even go that far back because there's
it's just a different sport at that case.
I think it's not a. Yeah, I think it's just different depending on who you're talking to. We look at those guys like they're the old timers. They were, those are our baseball idols. You grow up and, you want to hit as many bombs as Barry Bonds. You want to have a swing like Ken Griffey. You want to have that presence in the town you play. I think Man and I were talking about Jeter. You want to be like that. Who didn't want to be like Derek Jeter? I mean,
right.
Why would you?
Well,
not?
Jeter's up there on this too, but I think Jeter is simultaneously the most underrated and overrated player in baseball, which probably means he's ranked just right. So he's in the discussion as well, but I don't think he was ever the best player at any given time.
Comparison would be interesting.
A Jeter Chris Paul. Jeter actually won though. Chris Paul didn't win.
That's true.
I I think you got to throw Randy Johnson in there too,
Randy Johnson could be up there. You
especially
know,
because he got better with age. I mean, he was average in his early career, and then after he turned 35, he averaged 354 strikeouts per season while having a 2.5 ERA, and he did that all after 25 during the steroid era. So, and he balled,
yeah, he's.
and he was probably the best pitcher at the time.
Mhm. I think Barry Bonds is the closest we get to it, but obviously Barry Bonds has the cloud hanging over his head with the steroid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why he has off-field recognition, because he's hitting. But even when he was hitting, he was breaking the home run record. He was on ESPN, almost every time, because what he was doing was a spectacle. He was hitting the ball like nobody else has ever seen before.
Yeah, I mean, he gets up there, and you already know he's
Mm-hmm.
going. He's
And
going
it's close
300.
enough. It's close enough to the modern, game where there's not too much of a difference, because I think that perhaps the closest we can get, if you just ignore era, is Babe Ruth, right? Because Babe Ruth was I'm saying probably because I wasn't there, right? And then some 104-year-old is going to tell me, well, actually,
Yeah,
Jim Smith of the whoever's was better than Babe Ruth, but no one saw him because he broke his leg or got drafted or got gangrene or something.
whatever it was.
Um, so
I mean,
so Babe
and Babe Ruth did it on both sides of the ball. I mean, he played
right,
outfield, he pitched, and he
right,
hit.
right, and he leads Major League Baseball in WAR, like, all times. But the thing with him is it's a different era. It's a completely different era of baseball.
And that's why you could also talk about Trout. I mean, you could easily throw Trout in there.
Right, and that's where I wanted.
Trout
That's where I wanted to go. Like, is Mike Trout right now is probably the closest thing we have in baseball. But whether or not he's going to win anything remains to be seen.
He's not. I mean, that's the thing, is he's not going to put up. He's not going to get. He's not going to get the championships, and it stinks
Mhm.
because in the MLB community, the baseball fan community always talks about how poorly of a job the MLB does promoting Mike Trout as the best
Mhm.
player in the MLB, and it's been so clear for the past 3 years. Um, the guy does it every time, every day. His work ethic is crazy. He's there for the fans. He's clearly the
Mhm.
one. He's arguably the best outfielder. He's arguably one of the best hitters,
Mhm.
and it's just
Well,
they
that's the
don't
other thing
market.
with Babe Ruth, his work
I don't know
ethic.
if
I
it's
don't think. I
arguable.
don't
I
think.
think he's dead cut and clear above everybody else, the best
Yeah,
player in the league.
he's probably the best player in the league. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
We're seeing now more and more that the MLB as a whole organization is clearly just not cut from the same cloth as the NBA, as the NFL, in
no,
terms of just in an overall sense of sport. Just like with the problem going on between the MLBPA and the owners, it's like there's such a disconnect, and it just really drives home all the stereotypes about baseball, how it's a stuck up, greedy kind of oriented sport, and there's just not a good aura around it right now, especially in the emergence of social media. I bring it up a lot. Social media has not been good to baseball, and it's I don't know, it's hard, and we haven't had the best commissioners. It's just look, I don't know.
it's
I
tough
hope that it turns
because
around, but it's just interesting. It's a
it's just
weird
it's
thing
tough
going on.
because all three of us are such big baseball fans. We've played growing up, and it's the game has my heart, and it always will, and it's tough to see the league not promote itself the way it should. um, because I mean, it used to be America's pastime. Is it still? I mean,
Mhm.
the MLB will call it America's pastime, but it's looking more towards like football now, or even basketball and stuff like that. And
Well, those are two sports that are nonstop action packed. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And people don't want to watch a 3-hour baseball game where there's 7 hits total and 3 runs scored and
Well, that's not how you attract new fans.
right.
Like the XFL, you want to go and you want to watch people get leveled. You want to see
Hmm.
points being put up.
Well,
You want to see this.
that's why the juice ball is such a debate. It's like, yeah, people love seeing home runs, but at like what cost? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, well, we talked
they
about this
walk a fine
on
line.
Basketball 4, where we were pretty much going through everything that the MLB can do to improve it. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago. I think it was our second episode. like miking up the players and stuff like that, where there's really like kind of a gray area where there's really no place for that during a live game, but that's also something that would truly benefit the game. So we need a guy in here as commissioner that can stop just talking and throwing out ideas and getting backlash, and instead have somebody who can pretty much just come in and implement that and get it done in the correct format and really hear from the players. But back to my original point here, when there's a disconnect between the players and the owners and the league, you're just moving the goalposts further away from each other, and I just
Mhm.
don't see that happening sometime in the near future.
Like I don't. I think everyone the manager, not the managers, the commissioner is too old school thinking. Their main thinking is preserving baseball, but they get about a lot of lash about expanding and um, being more of a younger, appealing to a younger audience. Um, and I also think the MLB spends a lot of time on international play. Obviously trying to get people from the outside coming into the states and trying to play baseball here, but I think they spend way too much time on that because baseball is an international game, whether you try for it or not. And people want to go to the MLB when you have, people like Javi Baez and with the flash and the flair from the Dominican Republic and stuff
That's
like
what
that.
people want to see. People want to see that stuff, though.
Yeah, and that's what the kids want to do. I mean, the kids
Hmm.
want
That's the
kids
other
want to.
thing too. Like these guys are, like the kids love, not the kids, but like like people like our age love bat flips.
Oh yeah, dude, and I love
And
flag.
I don't care if, I love a bat flip, right? I don't care if Marcus Stroman strikes out a dude looking and then does 7 backflips off the mound. That's cool.
Hmm.
I don't need to see him like playing it off all cool, like I've been there before and I just struck out a dude. Like that's great and all if that's your style, but you don't need to get,
It's the
butthurt
emotion.
about another person doing it.
It's the emotion. The emotion that players are allowed to have. I think is
Hmm.
definitely not allowed.
You know,
You could be flary in basketball. They hit a shot, they go crazy. I mean, you see people
yeah,
dancing up and down. Steph with the shimmy and MJ with the shrug, and
yeah,
you
and you
know
know what? Nobody gets punched in the mouth because of it.
no, because it's fine. Everyone can do it.
Hmm.
And I know like we
If
always
you
say,
don't
man.
like it, don't
Yep,
give it up.
yep, and that's something
That
that's true.
Right. CC Sabathia says this all the time. Like he doesn't care if you bat flip against him because he knows that he messed up, and he's gonna and like CC Sabathia is the one that's gonna wear it.
Yeah, I mean, I love baseball and I love playing baseball and I love watching baseball and I could sit there and I can sit there and watch a 3 hour game and not have a problem. But it's people like us that I mean, they're not trying to reach. They don't have to reach us because they've already gotten us. It's the people who are like, oh yeah, I guess I'll go to a baseball game. Like, sure, why not? If you find a random friend, hey, we're going to a Yankee game. You guys want to come? I'm kind of tired from work. Like no,
Hmm.
you want to get those people who are on the fence to go. And like you said, the lack of action. I really think miking up players would be great, even if they don't mic up the players. Like you put a mic in the bases, you put it on the by the fence so you could hear. You put it on the goal on the flag poles. Um, like something. Put it on the umpire. Like I want to hear something, and I think they have to change the angle too of the
Hmm.
camera. Like when they show the camera in the rear by the umpire, and you see the way the balls move at
Hmm.
95 miles an hour. I mean,
Well, social media has really kind of accelerated or helped maybe some people convert because the biggest thing last year was when Aaron Boone bugged out on the umpire. You know, that was the biggest thing for not only John Boy on Instagram, but it was also the biggest thing in MLB. Like
It's true.
everybody saw that,
Well, I
even
talked
to the
about this
point.
with Jeremy Frank, and we were talking about how even getting a commentator in the booth that can relate to people, like
Hmm.
getting a guy like Jeremy in the booth who has a different perspective on the game and comes at it from a different angle, or a guy like John Boy in the booth. Like, these are the guys you have to go after. These are the people that are transforming the game. The game is viewed differently. These people have a reach with the younger generation, and they can provide that to the fans. Like,
mhm.
old school fans might not necessarily enjoy it as much, but that's a trade off you need to be willing to make because you're going to trade off the possibility of losing and I don't mean to sound weird saying this, but like trading off 10 years of fandom from a guy kind of at the later end of his life who may possibly not watch baseball anymore to, from a pure business standpoint, capturing that 15-year-old, that 12-year-old, that 10-year-old who you will have as a fan for life. Like,
Mhm.
you
Those
need to
older
start
fans are going to
catering
come
to the
back
younger
too.
generation. They're going to come back. You want to watch
They're going to come
baseball, you're going to
back.
come back and watch baseball.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
The older fans when Colin Kaepernick and the whole like kneeling thing was going on in the NBA, a lot of football fans were like, "I'm not watching it anymore if they kneel." And sure, like one way or another, they came back,
I
right?
mean, yeah.
Whether it's these people want to watch it, even if they say they're going to watch it, even though they say they're not going to watch it.
They might not be very outspoken about it, but what they will do is mute the TV. Like you see on Twitter all the time, people like I see it in Yankee Twitter for the most part, where people are like, "Yeah, I can't really stand listening to Michael K, so I just mute the TV and I watch." Like, fine, do it, but you still
Mhm.
get the viewership ratings.
I mean,
Mhm.
that's what I do. I would sit down, you do homework, and I would just put the Mets on in the background. I mean, I would mute it because I don't want to hear them get smacked around, but that's for a different story. Like, and it's tough because I guess if I can pinball off the Mets, like I love listening to Keith Hernandez, Gary Cohen and Ron Darling, and that's a squad for me, and I wouldn't give them up. They have see with them they have personality, they have
Mhm.
zest. They provide really good commentary, and I know Mets fans out there know what it's like to watch a Mets game because they do. They keep it interesting. They're not just talking about baseball. They talk about life. They talk about what's going on at home. They talk about
Right.
hanging out with each other. But to your point, Stick, about bringing Jeremy Franken or someone with a little bit more of an analytical mind and stuff like that. I mean, that's how you get the younger audience in, especially with social
Mhm.
media. I mean, all those people are so prolific on social media. Like, they're all on their phones. Like, that's what you need.
Because that's the way the league is going too. Like these GMs are bringing in, talent and people to find that talent that are, meeting some certain advanced criteria. And if Jim Smith, who played in the '80s, who was a commentator for whoever for so many years, like doesn't accept that, then he's not going to talk about it while on broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
It's
All
a
right.
it's a tough debate. I love baseball, and I never want to see it to go. I don't, and I will still
That's
watch
fine.
baseball every day whenever I can, and I'll still go to baseball games. But MLB, figure your shit out.
Yeah, it won't
So
go
they don't
anywhere.
have an MJ
They
until
They
don't.
do
Mike
not
Trout
have an
wins.
MJ.
They
Okay,
don't have an MJ until Mike Trout can win some championships, and then I'll be convinced that they have one.
cool.
Pretty much. All right. Final thoughts, anybody?
Oh, well, I'm going to add a little tidbit about the NHL. They just came out. They just agreed that they're going to have a 2014 playoff, 12 and 12 from each conference. There's pretty much going to be a play-in from seed 5 to 12. It's going to be a 5-game playoff series, and the 1 to 4 seeds are actually going to be in their own little tournament to see the top 4 seeds. So I'm really excited for the NHL. The NHL playoff in August is going to be crazy. There's going to be NHL playoffs. There's going to be NBA playoffs. It's all going to come at once, and I can't wait to watch the NHL. I'm going to put out these picks, and I'm about to go fire on these NHL picks. I'm so excited. I'm done.
Manny?
I'm good, man.
I'm good too. All right.
All right,
So
boys.
this has been our mishmash episode, covering a little bit of the NBA, covering a little bit of talk around the MLB, and hopefully sports come back within the next couple weeks. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It really sucks right now. We wish we could bring you guys more stuff, but there's literally nothing to really talk about that you haven't already heard on Twitter or seen in real time. So with that, check us out on social media, depending on how you found us. Twitter at capsON Sports. That's CAPSON Sports. On Instagram at capson.sports. Check out our website at capsonsports.com. We're pretty much posting blogs there. We're going to have the podcast up there. Working on a bunch of new stuff for you guys as sports come back. It's kind of tough to implement them right now just because there's really no content to go off of. But everything is pretty much going to be centralized on our website. So get familiar with that if you're a fan. Word of mouth helps us out a shit ton. Yeah, pretty much it. See ya.
Gang.